lesson, it's about energy of the water, and especially specifically at the end we'll talk about art of drinking water, because there is a art in drinking water for sure. Please again take a look at our disclaimer that this presentation for the educational purposes only. It's not intended to replace any kind of the professional medical advice or diagnosis. And art of drinking water, this presentation is coming to you, developed by myself and Nita, two of us. So I will just ask Nita to introduce herself shortly, and then I will introduce and we go from there.
Hello, my name is Nita Merchant. This is some of the fun facts that we have put. Basically, I just love to walk on the beach. I'm a good listener and love jazz and Indian classical music. I'm originally from India, and I came here in about 1990, and I've had a successful career in insurance industry for about 22 years. And after that, I had an accident from where I came into Bauman, and I graduated from Bauman College in 2019. And I'm a certified holistic nutrition consultant. And today I'm a moderator and facilitator in training with Bauman Wellness, and I'm proud to be part of this organization.
My second career, first one, it's electrical engineering. I have a master's in holistic health and nutrition, and then also board certified. Maybe the weirdest fun fact about me is I do talk to my plants. I talk to my cut flowers, and my kids always thought that I'm the weirdest person in the world. But guess what? Since I talk to them, they last for a month in my vase. And that water really carries the information. And then a little bit on the scientific side of it, as we are coming with the new research. And then we will talk about the ancient philosophies and practices as Ayurveda, and their art of how to drink the water artfully. And then let's open discussion and see where we go from there. So when we say water is just liquid, always a little bit more. Many researchers are convinced that water is actually capable of storing the memory and retrieving it from it. And there's a possibility that information storage in the chemical pure water, it's extremely controversial, and it has been controversial in the scientific circles for actually a couple of the centuries. Nevertheless, some scientists have contended that information retention in the water, it's not just inconceivable, but it's possible, and suggest a different approach to it, that actually the water microstructure may be involved. So I just kind of want to put the parallel why we in this kind of a struggle where we are coming in to investigation of the water is, I like to quote often Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt, who is a brilliant German doctor an energy practitioner who practices here in the United States and chemical. And he said a while back that we have a tendencies in the West, especially in the English-speaking countries, to overeducate people in the biochemistry, and especially health practitioners in the biochemistry. But in some other countries like Russia and Germany, they educate their health practitioners much more in the physics and look into physics and the quantum physics for some of the answers. So purpose of today's talk is to present you with the scientific information, how it's possible for the water to retain information, and kind of open up your mind to the possibility that there is more to water than just H2O molecules. So you would think that given simplicity of the water, that it's so pervasive in the nature, that we will completely understand water by now. But the fact it's kind of actually contraordinary. We do not know a little bit more about water. It's just in the last 30 years that the research into water has expanded tremendously. So I put a couple of the studies that spoke to me, but this is by all means not all of the studies that they're going into the water right now. But the very first one that was controversial back in in the 90s, it's research by Dr. Masaru Emoto. He was coming from the premise or saying by Nikola Tesla, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in the terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So coming from that premise, he said, well, what if I take water from the different sources and capture the pictures of it, freeze them, and look at the microscope how they look like. He totally expected to see perfectly created snowflake-like crystals. So he conducted a series of the experiment in 1994. And what he found out, you can see on the picture here, is if he would capture the water, first of all, from tap water, he could never get the perfect crystal. Ever. As many times he tried tap water in the different cities, he could never get it. But what he noticed is if he is getting the water from the rivers and lakes around the crowded area, around the populated area, the crystals are deformed and never perfect crystal. If we would get the crystals, if we will get the water and freeze it and get the crystals from pristine areas like in the faraway mountains and the springs and lakes over there, he could always get the perfect crystals. So he published in 1994, between 1999 and 2004, series of the books that calls with the title of The Message from Water. And as you can imagine, those was so controversial, criticized as a quakery, as a not serious science, and wanted to dismiss that for saying it's just not real science, period. And then the research in 2005 by Henry Colley, who is currently researchers at the Jackson State University. He published, he's a very accomplished scientist. He published over 54 different scientific papers. And he published his paper in 2005 in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health magazine. And he was looking at the evidence that for alteration in chemical and physical property of the water and exposed to the sunlight, and how that exposed water of the sunlight can actually change the biological function of different species, different biological system, different live species. So the experiment went that he would put the water bottles, and each one would be wrapped with the cellophane in a different color, that it's a spectrum of the colors, right, from ranging from blue and purple all the way to the red. And then after exposing water for 40 days in those containers to the sun, he would take the water and did a different experiment with it. So, for example, he found out, and these are just a couple of the results. He found out that mosquito larva, it stops producing, or actually multiplying, if it's water exposed in the 40 days in the blue cellophane. So blue color had the effect of stopping the hatching of those larvae. If the water bottle was exposed to sun for 40 days in the orange kind of the cellophane, that it created elongated beetroots. So he had some biological various potential energy. And then what he concluded from that is that the sunlight, actually, his result is that the strong indication that the 40-day incubation of the sunlight resulted in the storing the potential energy of the sun in the water, and that energy could be, when it comes to the biological system, which means live species, could be used as a kinetic energy for various processes. So that was pretty intense study, and it was like, wow, So there is a possibility that there's something in here, right, that we can manipulate it. We all have been told in the school that water has three phases: solid, liquid, and vapor. Well, as of 2013, by the research of the Dr. Gerald Pollack, who is currently professor at the Washington University, he discovered the fourth stage of the water. While the evidence for this stage of the water existed and concept it's new for already several centuries, actually nobody ever discovered it. So what he found out that this fourth stage of the water, which he called structured water or easy water, EZ, standing for exclusion zone, is something that it's in between the lane between the liquid and the solid. So somewhere in that zone, it's this fourth structure of the water. And the beauty of it was that the energy for building the structured water is coming from the sun. Water absorbs infrared, especially freely from the environment, and uses the sun energy to convert any kind of the bulk water into the liquid fourth stage of the water. And since then, studies have exploded in how can we use this water? Why is this so important? And in the last few years, several studies came up with the conclusion that easy water, it's actually the water that our cells are using. So since our body, it's a 75% of water, this is a profound discovery. That means that every single cell is using easy water for its own function. So that's what I was saying in the previous presentation, that not just the quality and the quantity of water matters. It's also water structure, which is something that is coming from the physics. So, and there's a few easy ways. So right now, everybody is like, okay, what is this with water? How can I get it? It's very easy, actually, to get naturally easy water. You can drink the raw juices, vegetable juices, fresh spring water, if you can get to it, glacier melt water. And also it forms spontaneously when you rigorously vibrate or blend the water. Also, beauty of it is if you go into the infrared sauna and stay there for 15 to 20 minutes, the water that it's in your body is going to convert into this, easy water. So it's very easy to get there, to change the structure of the water that your system can use it. And as we have seen from the previous study, is that it can change the biology of the system. And in our case, is that biology. And then next study that was very interesting, and I think it's the breakthrough because it's coming from the 2018. In science, you know that everything has to do with the mathematical equations and blah, blah, blah. And no matter what we experiment do, unless we can do by the math, there's no actually scientific proof. Well, Alex Henke published in the Journal of Physics scientific paper titled Mean for Liquid Water to Retain the Information. And then the paper presented theoretical model of water information retention capacity. So actually through the math, he proved that water has a capacity to retain the information. So that is very, when I read his paper, at the end of the paper, he concluded that the question to consider going on forward is what such information can be used and how can we encode it? Well, it's a good information to ask, but let's just remind everybody that we know the field of the homeopathy. Homeopathy has been around for centuries, and that's exactly how homeopathic remedies are made. Homeopathic medicine is made from the plant and the chemical minerals and animal sources. And then the original material, it's diluted and then vigorously agitated and, agitated vigorously and then diluted again and diluted again to the point that if you are looking from the biochemical or chemicals point of view, there's nothing in it. That's why homeopathy has been discarded as a Quakery or sugar pill. But now we know that each and every single step of the dilution, and especially the act of agitating it vigorously, actually imprints information from the original material. So that is already signs that it's there. Homeopathy we are using for centuries, and it's something that just proves all of these discovery. It's kind of leading to prove all of these discoveries. So let me get to Dr. Emoto again and go take you further down. So right now we know that we can imprint information, that it can really impact our physiology. We know how we can create the easy water, which is a part of our cells on very easy way. But let's see how water can carry information. And there's two videos that I will show you by Dr. Emoto, and then also by artist Lisa Park, who is using the brainwave to manipulate the water. But before we see the two short videos I want to show you, I want to just ask you to pay attention to what you're seeing, images on the screen, where Dr. Emoto was curious even further to find out, knowing that Tesla said vibration and frequency, he exposed the water actually to the different images, playing music to the water, like a classical music versus heavy metal music, and giving a different words, and each and every single word, in music, it's a different vibrations, and then taken the water and see what kind of the images he will get. And the images he will get from those, for example, exposing water to Adolf Hitler picture, it's quite different than exposing it to Mother Teresa. So we all go to restaurants, right? And if we can imprint emotions into the water, next time when the angry waiter gives you a glass of water, double think, are you going to drink it again, or what you're going to do with it? So we will show you what you can do with it to counteract that anger. So let me show you the video with Dr. Emoto.
In this experiment, Dr. Emoto's researchers used a glass of Tokyo tap water, which seems to be unable to form crystals, and performed a test. Participants placed the glass in the center of their circle and sent gratitude to the water. Studying the water under the microscope, they started to see a crystal formation. Increased magnification showed the symmetry of the crystal, revealing how the tap water was transformed by the gratitude sent by the group. The crystal continued to grow, expressing the energies received. The tap water from Tokyo finally produced a beautiful crystal.
It was interesting to see children so completely astonished after they witnessed the difference in Tokyo tap water, before and after they sent the prayer. Their mothers were kind of skeptical before this experiment. But afterwards, they said, we really have to believe it.
In this experiment, Dr. Emoto...
Sorry about that. And before we go to the video for this artist, she is using the brainwave actually to manipulate the water. Let me just We will skip about a minute of her introduction, and then I can briefly introduce her. She's using audio and visual representation based on the state of her mind or state of her emotions to project on the water. She is using the EEG sensor, which is a sensor that projects your brain waves and puts them into the machine, where into the machine, and using the neurofeedback that analyzes that and produces the sounds. And the sounds she's using to then projecting on the 48 different speakers. And the reason why she's using 48 speakers, she's going by the philosopher from the 16th century, Spinoza, who categorized all of the spectrum of human emotions in the 48 different categories. So she's using those categories. And then also she modulates the sounds. And what she noticed, if she's frustrated, sounds become much louder and with the bigger pitches and everything else. And then she is using the way how she placed her, she will use the speakers, and speakers will be filled with the water. The way how she placed the speakers in the circle, which you will see in the video, is using the Buddhist symbol that represents the balance. So let's watch the video from about, I think, and she has a special term for her way of art, so it will say there on the video. So that is just a presentation to tell you that the possibility of information storage in the chemically pure water, it's doable, and it's actually very easy to do it. And let's take a look at the ancient practice of Ayurveda, which knew that information for 5,000 years. They have an art of drinking water and have been using it. But the beauty of this is that we finally right now, from the scientific point of view, understand why and how it works. So go ahead, Nita.
We all know that we drink our water is extremely important for our health. Today, what we are going to do is we are just going to go through some tips how to drink water, which I call it as art of drinking and its benefits. Now, some of these practices, like Irima said, it's like a ritual practices for ages through ancient times in cultures all over the world and have slowly been forgotten. But today, it is being revived. We see a lot of these copper vessels coming back, which had pretty much gone out of the system. I used to see this long time ago, from generations to generations, it was passed. But today I do see a lot of copper vessels coming back. So couple of the energized water we'll talk about is the sun and moon energized water and drinking water from the copper vessel. So what is sun charged water? It is the union between the sun and water. When water absorbs the sunlight, it develops a charge from the sunlight. It has a lot of benefits attached to it, but overall, it brings a sense of well-being and rejuvenation. It gives more courage, calmness, and balance. Internally, the most common reported benefit of drinking water is increased energy. It heals the damages at cellular level and increases the vitamin D, as we are all aware that sunlight does have vitamin D. It clears the urine and makes inner body more alkaline, and which we have seen in the sun, whether it is sun energized water or moon energized water, or even drinking from a copper vessel. It has some minerals that is making the water more alkaline. Externally, it also helps support or speed healing skin conditions. It is being used as eye wash and used also for antiviral and fungal purposes. The UV rays in the sunlight can tear apart the microbes to make water safe. So that is one of the things which was kind of like mind-boggling for me. Moon energized water, it's also nothing but the water distilled and charged overnight under a full moon. The moon controls the tides of the ocean, and we are made of 60% of water, which means that water has such a huge effect on all of us. It is highly recommended that you wait until new or full moon to charge your water. If you charge your water on new moon, it is best to charge it with positive affirmations and set your intentions towards the growth. Whereas full moon, on the other hand, aids in the release of all that we no longer serves us. And in order to welcome all the new fresh energy, we have to make space in our lives for new things. And the full moon helps us to truly dig deep and let go. The benefits of moon energized water: it has been used in beauty routines and ritual practices for ages and is seen in the cultures. It helps welcome the fresh energy and revitalize again. There was a story that came out in 2019. Celebrity Victoria Beckham, the wife of David Beckham, she shared a picture and a story drinking full moon water on Instagram at a posh spa in Germany, which was part of her detox program. So there is things which is being kind of like brought all back from the ancient cultures, which at that time did not have scientific proof, but today the science is agreeing and bringing back that, yes, with the research, they have found that there is energy in the solar and the moon waters. Drinking water from a copper vessel. That also goes back several civilizations, that the copper vessel has impact to every part of our health. In India, it has been the culture where I'm from and the tradition to drink water out of a copper vessel. Today, we can find the pitchers, bottles, and even mugs that are made out of copper. As you're aware, copper is a trace mineral, and so it just needs a very small quantity in our body. Copper helps every function and system in our body: your brain function, your kidneys, liver, heart, and even your immune system. However, if we consume too much, there is a possibility of toxicity in our body, which can affect our liver as our zinc levels fall. Copper and zinc work hand in hand. So even if copper is good for us, it does not mean that we should consume more and more. Everything that we do has to be in moderation. One of the biggest benefit that copper, drinking water out of copper vessel is it has the antibacterial effect. Science has shown that copper makes our water antibacterial. During an epidemic in the 19th century, an entire village was struck with cholera. The people who were working in the copper mines did not have single case of cholera because of the amount of copper that was in their systems. So when we store the water in copper vessels, it kills the most dangerous of the bacteria. It is one of the cleanest ways of drinking water, which helps in any of the gut-related issues, such as diarrhea, digestion. And there is also scientific studies which show it reduces arthritic pain. So these are some of the few tips on the energized water. The other tips that we would like to how to drink water. The first one is we need to sit down and sip water slowly. Why is that important? Well, your water mixes with saliva. The same we always talk about as a nutritionist, how we should be eating our food slowly and chewing it more so that we can combine it with the saliva. The same thing goes with the water too. When you sit and sip your water slowly, it carries the saliva from your mouth into the stomach, stabilizing the acid. The saliva is highly alkaline in nature, and your stomach is acidic in nature. Your stomach needs the right amount of acid to digest the food. So when too much of the acid is produced, it is hard to digest the excess amount of the food and even the bad quality of the food. So you want the saliva to get into your stomach so that the alkaline effect of the saliva stabilizes the excess acid in the stomach. Today, the gulping water puts a lot of pressure on your kidneys as it has to work more. When you chug on your water very quickly, what happens is that most of the water passes out of your system very quickly. And then what happens? You get thirsty very quickly again. Today we see, okay, we are just going on chugging water out of bottles and all that. So, which is not just because they are told that they should be drinking this much water. So it is best to sit down and sip it slowly in order for your body to hydrate. Your water needs to be absorbed into the cells. In order to have a good cellular metabolism and energy, so when you sip the water slowly, you allow it to get absorbed into your cells. You also drink only the amount of water needed by your body. There are so many different conventional advices given today that you should be drinking 8 glasses of water or 16 glasses of water, 1 liter, 2 or 3 liters. So there are so many different advices going on, and people are all so confused. Okay, so how much of the water should we be drinking? The amount of drinking water depends on your lifestyle and activities, plus the type of food you eat. If you have dietary restrictions, such as on fruits and vegetables, mind you, fruits and vegetables do have very high water content, then you're not getting the amount of water that these provide to your body. So you have to drink more water. If you drink too much coffee or tea, these are diuretics in the body, which means they flush out excess water and vitamins from your body. So every glass of coffee, you have to drink at least about 2 glasses of water in order to replenish the excess water that is flushed out. The next one is do not drink water with your meals. Why? Because what happens is drinking water during meals, it dilutes your digestive enzymes. You should drink your glass of water 15 to 30 minutes before your meal and 30 to 90 minutes after your meals, preferably lukewarm or room temperature water. If you do have to drink water while eating, I would recommend just have a little bit of sips of water that is kind of like a sprinkle of water onto your stomach. You want to leave enough space in your stomach for the digestivity activity. So if you drink too much water, what it will do is it will dilute all your digestive acid in the stomach, and which in turn will affect your digestion. You can have some lemon water if you want, or you can have some little juice, but pure water with meals is not recommended because it has a lot of issues with the digestion and dilution of the enzymes. The other one that I would like to drinking water after 90 minutes of your meals, it helps keep the right concentration of your enzymes and the HCl, and which would help you in a very good, your digestion. The next one I want to talk about is drink only when you're thirsty. But don't wait till you're very thirsty. Our human body has a defense mechanism and a warning mechanism. It tells us when we are hungry, and it also tells us when we are thirsty. We need to start listening to our body. There are a lot of indicators that tell your body is thirsty, such as if your lips tend to dry quickly, that means your body has dehydrated and you need to drink water as soon as possible. Also, one of the other indicators is look at the color of your urine. If your urine is pale white or pale straw yellow, that means you have sufficient water and you are adequately hydrated. Remember, certain medications and supplements, such as the vitamin C, also make your urine extremely dark. So just look at certain of these indicators in order for you to understand when to drink water and how to drink water.
So maybe another practical tip could be to pinch yourself right here on the arm, keep the pinch for 3 seconds. And if your skin should snap right back right away, and if it doesn't, that means that you're slightly dehydrated. So those are some of the practical tips. And I would like to connect with the previous conversation that we said, where we talk about the heavy duty hydration. It's necessary, but the filtration and different type of the filters. I think we have given you here a little bit more of the hint. What if I don't have, of course, the heavy chemicals have to be gone in the water, but there's another aspect of the water, which is healing. How about drinking some sun energy infused water or some moon water, instead of buying the UV device? Water has sunlight has a similar type of the thing, actually the same properties to kill the bacteria in it. So taking the context from both conversation and see how these practical tips that we gave you can connect together and not kind of freaked out. That's why I was saying on the previous conversation, there's more to it than what we presented there. Of course, chemicals need to be leached out, but this is where we can actually make a difference. Anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I have my sun energized water here, and I wanted to kind of like give one affirmation that I just came across, which I thought was really very nice. And when we were talking about how we can affirm these, like especially the moon energy water and all that stuff. So one thing that really came out to me, and if you have all your glass of waters over here, maybe we can just do one simple small affirmation.
Yes, but before that, let's just answer a few questions. Question is, what about drinking cold water? Is there a good time to enjoy it cold? I can address that. Yes, there is a time, but keep in mind, every morning when you wake up, you have a certain life energy that your body possesses. And the cold water, when it gets into your body needs to warm it up to the temperature that can process. So here it goes, energy for warming it up. So you have a less energy for your life that day. That's the way how I'm looking at it. And I will say it as that. So it's your decision, your choice. But the cold water, it does need to be warmed up. So body is using extra energy for it. So I don't know how to answer. Otherwise, maybe Dr. B can offer some of his wisdom. And another one is, Nita, they want specific, a little bit about the sun and moon infused water. How do you do it? Very simple, just put in the glass pitcher and put it outside in the sun or overnight for the moon water. She was saying the full moon or the new moon. So cover it with something that you don't end up with lots of bugs in it, especially if you're living in New Orleans.
Yeah, so you can actually for the full moon, for the moon, you can overnight keep it out. In the moon, of course, you need to kind of wrap it up with a muslin cloth or something and tie it, and you can keep it overnight. And the energy of that moon and all will definitely be reflected in your water. The same thing goes for the sun too. Keep it in the morning out, like around 7, like between 6, 7 and 8. That's a good time, and keep it out for the whole day. And by 4 o'clock or so, you can just bring it back in. But you do need to cover so that no bugs or anything can get into your, or even the dirt outside, because there is so much pollution that goes on. So you need to be covering the water.
And don't forget the experiment that Dr. Emoto did. Like I said earlier, when you get into the restaurant, you don't know who touched that water. The simply keeping your water for a few minutes in your hands and offering the gratitude to it, that does the hydration of your body to the best of your, to the highest of your good, is good enough to project that attitude to gratitude into water and change the water structurally. So you're changing the structure of the water. So all of these small little tips help. It's not, this is a solution for everything, but every single little bit. Dr. B, would you like to say something? We always welcome your wisdom. We always welcome your wisdom.
Thank you. You're kind. Could you unshare the screen so we see everybody?
Sure.
Thank you. Hi. Well, I appreciate very much the combination of water as physical, water is molecular, water is structural, and water is really the element. It's one of our 4 or 5 elements, depending on systems. So the water is the emotion. The water carries the feeling. The water receives and absorbs the feeling. And thought is feeling too. So when we go by the ocean, we kind of get into this feeling state with the ocean, go into resonance, and it's very nourishing to us. And we go by the river, it's very nourishing to us. And when we sit and swim and bathe in water, it's very nourishing to us. And there's an energetic there as well. And then the act of gratitude and prayer and blessing is something that we can do at all times. And the earlier talk, it was like, holy cow, there's so many impurities in the water. What are we going to do? Maybe I'll stop drinking water, right? No. We have to live in the world. But blessing that water and putting our hands over the water and giving it our love and our energy shifts our receptivity to the water. Because our big problem is we're in such a hurry. We're always in a hurry. We're always just, not always, but often, not really receiving this as a sacrament, as a blessing, as essence, pure essence. And as we elevate our own energy, we create this resonance with the substance, which was witnessed by the beautiful crystals. And doing toast, it's so nice when you have a toast, not necessarily alcohol, but you go, it's great to be together, blessings on the family, celebrate life. So we can raise our energy with water, and the water can carry that. And then homeopathy is an energetic. Mm-hmm. So we're really bringing in our own homeopathic frequencies to water and to remedies and sharing that with people. So this is something that we can do more intentionally and do it more collectively. I would like us to do a water sharing together now. If you could guide us, and we could embrace water, and then one or both of you guide us into some affirmation and blessings for what we're doing, and we can do it together.
Okay, great. I think I interrupted Nita when she wanted to share that. So Nita,
Yeah, but this is good stuff. Yeah.
So go ahead, Nita, share that.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we are getting this affirmation and we're going to bless our water. I affirm my oneness with the Creator and source of all that is. I know that I am unconditionally loved and supported. And thank you, everyone, for being here together with us.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste drink.
And then I was watching you, Peggy. You are sipping your water throughout the presentation. Kudos to you.
Yeah.
I do want to add one comment. I know there was a question, I believe it was by Lynette, about the cold water.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to add something. In Ayurveda, cold water should not be drank at all. That is not good for your body. What happens is the cold water takes a lot longer time to do its part of hydration because it has to get to the temperature, like Irima said, it has to be room temperature. So your body has its own temperature. So it has to get to that temperature before it starts doing its part. That is the reason why it is said that you should be drinking lukewarm water. In the Asian cultures, you see, whether you go in Chinese or you go in Thailand or you go in Japan, they always have tea along with their food, which is hot water. So it's lukewarm water is totally fine, and that's how it should be drinking. I will say one more thing in the Ayurveda part. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing that you should do is at least drink 2 sips of water, keep it next to your bed, and drink it before even you brush your teeth. What will happen is all your saliva that is inside your mouth, that has high good bacteria which goes into your body, and that will be helping your digestion and your gut, everything. I know what I do is after brushing your teeth and all that stuff, I actually drink 2 glasses of warm water in the morning, because what it does is when you wake up, your body is dehydrated. Sure. So what it does is it hydrates all your organs and functions of your body, and that brings the energy back into you.
Just some adjusting, okay? I think the principles are really good, but I don't like always and never, okay? When it says never drink water with the meal, don't have water with foods. Well, it's not necessary to be that, to generalize to that degree. Certainly don't overdrink. Sip your water during a meal. Space your water out around the meal, but again, it's fine. You may have a dry meal. You may have a salty meal. You may want to have a cup of tea with your meal. That's fine. So if we're going to say, so-and-so says, that's okay. But there's certain, differences in the nutrition and health field always. And, sensibility, people say moderation in all things, and I usually say discernment in all things. So discernment is different than moderation, because we could be moderate in mediocrity, and that's not really our goal. We're trying to really elevate our game. But small amounts of unsweetened water, are fine, just not to overdo it. And what does that mean? Maybe a half a cup or something, but it's not going to wash out our digestive enzymes. That's overstated. So whoever dropped that information that's been repeated hundreds of times, it's not that strong. Chewing the food is obviously a big deal to key up our digestive system, and that's something we have to go back to base one every single time we eat to slow down and turn our solids into liquids.
I've often read articles that will say that you should drink your first glass of water should be a full glass of water drunk all at once to flush out your system, and that the rest of the water during the day should be sipped for hydration.
Right.
Is there any credibility to that belief?
I don't know. I haven't done the research on it, but I know I'm practicing that myself. The very first water, it's 8 ounces of lemon water with the lemon. Sometimes I put honey, a little bit honey and the Himalayan salt. That's the first drink in my mouth in the morning. But to tell you the truth, I have not looked into research. It's a good thing I may and get back to you. Okay.
There's so many different recommendations. And when I hear the word should, I ask people to change it to the word could. I don't should on people. Because if you do that, then you fail half the time, right? I should do this. Oops, I didn't do it. Bad me. We don't need any of that. So I think hydrating in the morning is very important. Hydrating with room temperature water, slightly warm water is important. The amount will vary. And, some days you're very dehydrated.
Right.
Some days you wake up with a headache. Some days you're toxic. In those days, you drink more water. So when somebody nails it down to a finite amount for all people, they're really doing us an injustice.
I agree.
So we have to be sensible about checking in every day and realizing we are dehydrated when we wake up. And then if we drink coffee or tea, and we have 1, 2, 3 cups of coffee or tea, we're increasing our dehydration factor. So, I go 1 cup of coffee, 2 cups of tea, 3 cups of water for people who drink coffee, and switch to herbal tea and then switch to water. And I don't say to people, don't drink coffee, it's bad for you. People do. I have plenty of colleagues who do, and the coffee will wreck your adrenals, but it depends on everything. It's not as simple as that, very sort of heavy-handed statement.
There's such a thing as over drinking water.
Yes.
And if you find yourself that you're drinking and you are in the bathroom every half an hour, something is wrong. So that it's you're drinking too much and it's just going through it, and you're putting too much pressure on your kidneys. So there's the moderation that Dr. B was talking about that needs to be taken in account.
The other thing Donnie mentioned yesterday in the talk with me on Wellness Works was adding salt to water. So be it, good Himalayan salt or Celtic salt or seaweed or miso or something, pinches of salt in water is very good for water absorption.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not how much water we drink, but how the water is received and retained. And then too much salt, we get water retention, or too much poor quality salt. But if you think about it, a good grain of salt will change the molecular structure of the water.
Totally. It will get that water to the easy water that I was talking about.
Yeah.
That negative charge zone, which our body likes.
So pinching salt in your drinking water is a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah. You're welcome to join our community. The membership is free for the rest of the year. And feel free to invite friends and family to join us in our programs.
Yeah, we will have programs.
I want to thank our presenters, Nita and Irima, and our rapt, attentive collective who shared this.